We're Steinbeck.
Is that what we're going with? Are we starting now?
Yes.
I like that one.
Welcome. We're just going. Welcome to what is this? Not Just Any Book Club.
Yes,
we're
it
back.
is.
We're back from our break over December, Christmas, winter break.
Sorry about that. We thought we were
Yeah.
gonna upload an episode, but we didn't.
Yeah, we were supposed to upload a Between the Chapters episode, but we didn't end up doing that. We'll get back on it next month. Next month, we're not doing a movie for once. We're going to do some Hemingway short stories because it's Hemingway. Like, you got to read some short stories there.
Pierce chose that, not me.
That's not true. You wanted to not do movies again.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
No,
Why are you
for Hemingway.
blaming me?
For Hemingway.
Oh, for Hemingway.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was all
Yeah,
you wanted.
well, they'll find out that you hate Hemingway next month. That's fine.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Anyhow, this month we read John Steinbeck. I guess for maybe first-time listeners, if they listen in, if they choose the Steinbeck episode, I'm Pierce. I read Cannery Row.
I am Justin. I read Grapes of Wrath.
I'm Lucas, and I read East of Eden.
Ooh.
East of Eden. All right. Yeah. Justin, do you have? I know you were looking some stuff up about your book. Do you have some information on Steinbeck?
Of Steinbeck. I did read the forward, but looks like I'm not taking notes on that. But
Oh
let's
my
just say that I know like you might have got the spot. We did. Let's just say that he was a guy that wrote a lot of books. He grew up in California.
He was a modernist author, right?
Huh.
He lived in California. That's true, and he wrote with a focus on the common man. He wrote about like an average like working person, whether that was in a city like in Cannery Row, or whether it was like people who working on a ranch like or was it a farm on of Mice and Men, whatever it was. You know, the average worker is what he really focused on.
Specifically during the Great Depression. I believe every
Yes,
single book he
did.
made is during the Great Depression.
I believe
Almost
so.
every.
Is that the case with East of Eden? Because I think that was his most popular one. It came out in 1952, so that's pretty far separated from the Great Depression in actual time. Luke,
What's up?
was East of Eden did it take place during the Great Depression?
Yeah, that's a good question, Pierce. Let me talk to my sources.
Oh, oh no.
Beginning of the 20th century, end of World War One. Ah, well, that sounds.
So
Great
no, not
Depression-y.
really.
I don't
Very-
know. It could be.
Decade
No,
off.
Great Depression is
1930s.
pretty far after that. Yeah, it's the 30s.
1929. I think almost like the end.
That's where it
tail end.
starts. Yeah, 1929.
That's why we're not a history podcast.
No, it started in 1929. I'm pretty sure that was the
Like,
year
Black
that the like
Friday.
bank thing happened.
Yeah, Black Friday during October.
Right.
Oh, yeah. The end of the story is around World War One. Okay.
Well,
Okay.
sucks.
Couldn't remember if it was 2 or 1.
Starting this off with a great foot. Yeah.
So I guess real quick, we've talked a little bit about Steinbeck. We'll get into his writing in a minute, I suppose. But just elephant in the room, I guess. 2 out of 3 of us have already read Of Mice and Men, and the third is reading through it right now. But none of us read it for this podcast. So,
I enjoyed it when I read it though.
yeah, it's really good. It's been a few years, so I don't think I'd be comfortable talking about it.
Since sophomore year of high school.
Yeah, but I would recommend it if you've never read it before.
Luke, do you recommend it even though you're just about to finish it? You really
I'm
like
halfway
Steinbeck.
through it.
Oh,
What do you think so far?
It's okay.
All right, glowing review from Luke.
Yep.
Yeah. So none of us read of Mice and Men. What order do you think we should go in? Should we go with mine since you guys read
Yeah.
like 2 of his most important works?
Yes.
So I feel like we should probably start with mine.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Okay. Well, I read Cannery Row. Not to say it's not an important work. I would say most of the things that John Steinbeck is still known for are pretty well known. I would say so, actually. I picked it up from Half Price Books. I walked in and I went in wanting a different book. I forget exactly which one. But they only had one copy of it and it was really beat up. And I was like, I think I'm okay. I'll read a different one. And I wanted to read like a novella or a short novel. And the only thing that they had that wasn't like decently beat up, that was in pretty good shape, was Cannery Row. And I had read about Cannery Row, and it was on like my short list of things that I might want to read. Um, I guess I just figured with John Steinbeck, his two most important books are like 500, 400, and 500 pages. And I thought I'd let other people handle that, considering I've done plenty of episodes where I've randomly picked a 500-page book.
Wait until you get to the fantasy month.
Yeah.
Because, oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah, guys, wait till you hear what I read for fantasy month. I'm in the middle of it. All right. Well, yeah, anyway, so I picked up Cannery Row basically on a whim, on a chance. I didn't really know much about it. And I don't believe it's very high up on his like list, like the like most popular books. But I think it's really good. It was really good. Once again, like with a lot of the books I read, it didn't have very much plot. Didn't really have a focus on the plot. The plot, very simply, is Mac, one of the residents of Cannery Row, and his friends want to do something nice for the doctor who lives in Cannery Row, Doc. And they want to put together a party, and some things ensue. I'm not going to spoil it because, like, what little plot there is, like, I can't talk that long about it without getting to the end of it. But some things ensue, and basically, like, the whole community like grows together a little bit from the events that happen from Mac and his friends wanting to put this party together. And the real good part of it is not the plot. It starts with them doing like a job for Doc, and then they like want to put together a party, and then that and like it's very like this and then this and then this. But the really good thing about Cannery Row is the characters and the way that the characters interact with each other, the little community that Steinbeck builds in like 180 pages. It's like nothing. And the way he does it is kind of masterful as well. I'll talk a little bit about the characters in a second, but one thing I did want to bring up was that the way that he's doing it, you basically get plot like every other chapter. And between that every other chapter of plot, you get like a random like 5-page story about some random resident of Cannery Row who's not even like related to the plot. Like they're not even in the actual like plot of the story, except for like maybe one time they show up in like the party that they're having. I was
gonna say that's exactly what he does in the Grapes of Wrath.
He does. Okay. Yeah, that so that's something that he does, and it's done really well too. It gives you like it kind of gives you like this broader sense of the setting and the people in it without having to like directly tear your attention away from the plot. Like the plot is still happening. It's just like, hey, we're gonna look at this for 5 minutes. Yeah, it's done really, really well. I think for Cannery Row, I haven't read Grapes of Wrath yet, but I did buy it today, so I probably will read that at some point soon. But at least for Cannery Row, I think it's really important because there really isn't much of a plot to speak of. The whole point of the book is seeing this community and seeing the camaraderie between these people. So yeah, I'm just gonna talk about a few of the characters, I think, um, and kind of show how Steinbeck kind of shows that they're like working together. There's Lee Chong. He is a Chinese owner of the neighborhood grocery store. I will say, a little bit of a warning: the dialogue of Lee Chong is a little um, hmm, stereotyped.
Is it
I
fair
should
for it
say.
today?
Is it what?
Is it like fair for it today? Is it like kind of like progressive? Like, oh, this is take the representation they can get, or is it just like,
I would say for its day, the representation of the character is fine. The accent is still, it just feels a little iffy. The
okay,
A
like,
little.
yeah, I would say like the characterization, like Lee Chong, I was about to get to this, he's a good person, and you can tell like he basically gives his the stuff he's selling away to the residents of Cannery Row on credit, and sometimes he even like wipes the like they can't pay, so he'll like let them work for him and basically wipe the credit completely away and just be like, that's fine, like you did some work for me instead of paying me for the like huge bill you racked up. So the characterization, I think, is really good, given that he's I think the only Chinese person in the book. I would expect that to be the case, but I could be wrong, I guess. Um, so he's, characterized as a really good person. The only thing that's a little bit on the iffy side is the accent that he's chosen to employ. But I don't think it's done. I don't think there's ill will there. I think he just, he just it's a tough thing, I think. Um, and if you read it, you can be the judge of if it's not done well or not.
hmm.
Um, but and then the Doc is not. I don't believe he's really a doctor. He's like a marine biologist or something. But he does like help. Like he does like do some medical things around the community. Um, at one point, Mac and his friends, who are they're freeloading in a building that Lee Chong owns. He lets them stay in this building that he got at the very beginning of the book. Mac and his friends get this dog, and Doc comes over and he's like, I don't really know anything about dogs, but he basically tells them what's wrong, and it gets better, and then like
Hmm.
all the Mac and his friends are all happy. Um, but yeah, it's anyway, the point is he's not a real doctor, but he's like, I don't think. But he's like really, he helps out the community a lot, and that's why Mac and his friends really want to do something for him. Um, there's a woman named Dora, and she runs the bar. She, I'll be honest, I don't remember a ton about her, but she's like, she tries to keep everyone kind of in line in the bar, and runs she kind of runs a prostitution part of the bar, basically like out of it, but she keeps it. The thing that I do remember the most about it, and I think it kind of speaks to what Steinbeck is trying to say about prostitution and that kind of operation in general. Um, she still has like standards, so she doesn't sell hard liquor. She tries to keep prices like honest. Given that I believe they're in the middle of the Great Depression, it's kind of an important thing. Um, she doesn't even allow people to be vulgar on the like in the building, I
Huh.
believe.
Interesting.
Steinbeck is like, it seems like Steinbeck is trying to say like,
They could be moral, or
I don't think he makes a moral judgment. I think he just says like, basically like sex work can be honest. Like it's not, they're not going to be like dishonest people. Like they're just trying to make a living, and they might be good people aside from that, and you can make your own moral judgment about the actual thing that they're doing. But it doesn't like infect the person. It doesn't make the person bad because they're engaging in that kind of work. But yeah, and then there's Mac. He's, I believe, middle aged, maybe a little bit older than that. But him and his friends are a bunch of freeloaders, and they have some of the highest like bills in at Lee Chong's store in town, and they don't have jobs. I think one of them has a job, but that's it, and he uses it to like steal alcohol from the bar that he works at. Uh, and none of them really have jobs. They freeload, and they're kind of one of the centerpieces of the plot because they want to help. They want to do something nice for Doc. And then there's a whole bunch of other characters who are. Oh, there is actually one other Chinese person. I forgot, Chinaman.
Chinaman.
Yeah, he gets mentioned a few times. He walks through the town, and he doesn't really say anything to anyone. He's going towards the ocean. But yes. Yeah, so he I guess there's technically one other Chinese character. But yeah, there's a bunch of other characters who all get like it's really quite
slice of life.
It is. Yeah, it is slice of life. But I was going to say it's really quite well written that you get this really good characterization of this whole like cast of characters, like a whole bunch of characters. And yet the novella is under 200 pages. It was very good, and I recommend it. I think I'm going to try and read some more Steinbeck so I can see exactly like kind of where this ranks as I read more of it. He's not top of my list to like run through it, but I'll probably read some more. But I think if I had to guess, I would say this one might be a little bit underrated in terms of like, really good Steinbeck works.
Have you read the sequel?
Cannery Row has a sequel.
It does have a sequel.
I have not read the sequel.
It's called Sweet Thursday.
Oh, yeah, it does have a sequel.
And it was made into a musical, which is nominated for 9 Tony Awards. What? It's called Pipe Dream. I didn't know that either. So I was like, I'm just gonna look at the Wikipedia page. I'm like, wow, that's made into a musical.
But yeah, there's like, and I think this is, I would imagine this is probably true of Steinbeck's other work. There's this kind of like romanticization of like, living on the fringe, like kind of Mac and his friends do, and like all the people in this area do in different ways. There's this kind of like romanticization of poverty in a way where they're like not necessarily like being poor is good, but like the community that is built in this poor neighborhood is romanticized, and I thought it was really good. I think it's worth a read if you have read other Steinbeck works and liked it. Yeah.
That. Do you think he makes any political statements in that? Because I know they made something about sex work, because he has made quite a few enemies with his literary works, because his books have been accused of being propaganda. Just FYI, leftist socialist propaganda, which I don't know. Yeah. And he was alive during the 1950s, so he was under scrutiny by the HUAC.
That's funny. Well, I could see why some people might think that in that time when it was kind of like crazy, like everyone was kind of scared of socialism and communism because of like the Soviets. because it does romanticize like I was saying before, like the life of the worker, right?
Mhm.
Which is kind of a central focus of communism is like the worker and how good it is to be a worker and how fulfilling and um et cetera, et cetera. That's one idea of there's many other ideas of communism. But anyway, the point is um it would fit right in with that kind of idea. So I can see why some people might make that connection, although I wouldn't call it propaganda. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, he does in this book specifically. I don't think he makes too many political statements outside of sex work. Um, and again, the sex work, it's not even a moral statement. It's like
Matter of fact.
people aren't bad because they do an illegal thing,
Mm.
basically. Um, People aren't necessarily bad because they do something that some people view as immoral. I don't think that that is necessarily a super political statement, but it is political somewhat. Everything else, like this book, is mostly more about like camaraderie and community, and um, I would say there's like kind of an aspect of nostalgia almost, in love for your community and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there's not. I wouldn't say this is like an overtly political book, aside from the romanticization of worker being a worker.
Mhm. Well, let's just say that Grapes of Wrath was very, very controversial. Which I don't know why. Oh, by the way, Luke, was East of Eden under any scrutiny by the government for being propaganda?
No, I just don't think the critics liked it as much as normal people.
Which is weird because
As much as normal people.
Steinbeck considered East of Eden to be his magnum opus. So yeah,
It
but
was a banger.
it was probably. But Grapes of Wrath, book got banned in a lot of places for being propaganda, but and California worker, whoever owned the California farms, they also didn't like it because of it showed the plights and how unbathed they were during to these people that they called the Okies. Actually, the government really did not like Steinbeck. J. Edgar Hoover, allegedly, who was the director of the FBI at the time, since they couldn't prosecute Steinbeck for being part of the Communist Party, he got the IRS to audit his taxes every single year of his life just to annoy him, and banned all his book. There were public burnings of Grapes of Wrath. Um, so why might this book be controversial?
What?
Yeah,
I cannot. I That is unbelievable.
yeah, the 50s, man. What a wild time to be alive and
Yeah.
like books. um, Grapes of Wrath is a book. It's a sweeping epic about a family that is just migrating from Oklahoma to California, and um, a lot of stuff happens. As in, it's just one very long road trip. They make multiple stops just to have some work, and sometimes the work doesn't work out. They meet a bunch of people, um, and it is a very simple story. I'm not going to get too much into the story because the story is it's a road trip story. It's point A to point B. It's more about the characters, and it's a very large family. And you can see that there are many layers to this because of apparently like Steinbeck knew the Bible very well, and there are multiple layers to this. As in, you can interpret this book you can interpret this book in surface level, where it's just basically a bunch of people trying to go through the Great Depression from Oklahoma all the way to California for some work, or you can interpret it as this biblical thing where every character is a metaphor for something in the Bible. And I'm not very familiar with the Bible. I am trying to read through it just so I can greater appreciate some literature. But after looking at it is very plausible. And like Pierce said, every chapter is written to be every alternating chapter is written to be one um, about the plight of the Joad family, which is the protagonist family in the book, and the other is just not specifically about one individual person, but it kind of takes a step back from the narrative and looks at America as a whole. And it just talks about how some just random people, people that are unnamed and we don't know, are experiencing the Great Depression, how they're being forced from their land, and how they're just being really upset with that. or sometimes how nature is just being screwed over. A lot of symbols with like the turtle that goes on for a very long time, and I think it was very well written. There's still too much dialogue, in my opinion. Where it was adapted into a film, but I just don't. It kind of stymies the prose a bit because I think Steinbeck is this brilliant writer who has some magnificent prose, which is evident in the alternating chapters where he talks about just the migrant crisis and how this Great Depression is affecting America. And those are some of the best chapters I've ever written in any book ever. And it's when it comes to the Joad family, I personally just find the story or my enjoyment of the book to be a little less than stellar. As in, I find the characters to be way too passive, which again kind of adds to the tragedy of the book because they're victims of their own circumstance. They can't fight back against the world. They have to be passive. But man, sometimes I would just like a little bit of agency in this character to just fight against it sometimes rather than be sufferers of the circumstances that surround them. There's some really mean people in the and how they treat Okies, which is like a slur for Oklahoma refugees, and yeah, it is very unfortunate as to how they were displayed because I wasn't alive during the 1930s, but I would like to presume that this is not entirely unfounded in truth because Steinbeck did visit like refugee camps, Hoovervilles, and interviewed them just to talk about like, hey, what was it like to be traveling all that, and incorporated into the novel. I don't know how much of that is true, but a lot of it is incorporated from real life because I don't think that Steinbeck was a fan of making stuff up, or not making stuff up, just like doing being disingenuous in how it betrayed people and their plights. Um, really, it's a very beautiful novel. Not my favorite book that I've ever read, but I greatly appreciate it. If someone were to say, "Hey, it's my favorite book," I probably would. I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't be mad. Um, it's this great time capsule into what it was like to be in the Great Depression, and I don't think it was sensationalized. I think talking about the Dust Bowl like this is very valuable for our history. The way that it portrays just some really very unfortunate circumstances and how people were very desperate to survive and needed some work. And again, I understand why this book can be considered propaganda or anti-capitalist propaganda because of how people were just like kicking the ever living snot out of people that just wanted to get some honest day's work. But I don't know. I think that adds to the tragedy. And that ending, oh boy, that's quite beautiful. So yeah, it is the great American novel, in my opinion. Just not something I really enjoy reading. Anyways, yeah, and don't ban the book. The book's great.
Don't ban it. The high
Please don't ban
praise once again.
it. Don't ban it.
Hot take: don't ban books.
No. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, apparently the movie kind of changes it from the book a little bit, as in they end it like a few chapters early, so it may or may not end completely differently on a completely different tone than is the ending here. So if it's a sad ending in the book, it might be a happy ending in the movie. Why would you do that? That completely just it just defeats the purpose of the book. But I don't know. Apparently, there are songs about this book as well. I may listen to them. There's an opera. What? Sorry, I was looking at the Wikipedia page. Rage Against the Machine wrote a book about what? Bruce Springsteen. Hold on. Oh, that's an entire album about Tom Joad. Okay. Anyway, yeah, my thing is done. I'm just like, there's a lot on this book. It has pervaded American culture. I'm pretty sure Pierce has heard about this before he's heard about any other book by him. Am I right?
Yeah. That was I mean I read Of Mice and Men before I read well, I haven't read The Grapes of Wrath yet. But I read Of Mice and Men and I'd heard of this book before I'd heard of the book that I actually read. So
Yeah. And Pierce plans on reading it soon. Hopefully, I through my rambling, I kind of made him want to read it more. And I'm pretty sure Luke's gonna read it. I think he's gonna go burn through entire Steinbeck's entire bibliography.
No, I think I'm gonna stop after these three. At least I'm not gonna buy anymore.
Okay.
Kind of broke.
Oh, okay. That makes I'm like, wow, you didn't go after his other famous book. Okay.
Is it me?
Yeah. I mean,
Yes.
unless you have anything to say about the Grapes of Wrath, like where did the title come from? I don't know. Are there
I
evil
don't know.
grapes in this?
At least I know where the title of my book came from.
Where does it come from?
The Book of Genesis, baby.
Oh, does he lay down some biblical references?
Yeah, I mean the whole story is about the Cain and Abel setup. You guys know what
Oh,
that is?
oh yeah. When
Yeah,
Cain his
Cain
brother.
kills Abel because he's jealous that Abel gave a gift that God likes better or something.
Huh.
Right. The entire story is kind of revolved around that. Right. So two brothers in the book are Charles and Adam. I mean, come on. Adam has kids that um no spoilers, but Adam has kids that are named Caleb and Aaron. So are you seeing the flow of the story a little bit here?
Yeah. Well, now you kind of spoiled it because once you draw that direct illusion, I'm like, I know how
Yeah.
the story's gonna go down.
I
You
I
don't
mean,
know.
I
You have
feel
no
like you
idea how the story's going to go down.
to be fair, I
I
feel
didn't
like you could
spoil anything
also
for
have
you.
drawn that direct illusion for yourself when he said one of the main characters' names was Adam. And not to
So yeah.
mention East of Eden is a obvious biblical reference.
Yeah,
No
East of
choice.
Eden is the last three words of the verse about Cain and Abel. It ends when Cain gets expelled east of Eden into the land of Nod or something.
Hmm.
And so yeah, he read that and was like, yeah, that's gonna be the title. That's pretty badass.
Yeah.
To be fair, it is a sick title.
It is very sick. Grapes of Wrath is a really cool title too.
Mhm.
Well, okay, I kind of want to explain where it comes from. Sorry to steal your thunder, but it comes from a song called "The Battle Hymn of the Republic." Um, what is this song? It references the Bible as well, the Book of Revelation. It's about final judgment and all that. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He hath loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on. They also name drop the grapes of wrath in one of the sentences. I was like, oh, I want to highlight that. Which, if I ever to read this book, I would have highlighted again. Anyways, Luke, go on.
Uh, Real quick though, my book's title comes from a part of a city called Cannery Row.
What?
So,
Whoa, that's deep. All right, where was I? Charles, Adam, Caleb, Aaron, Cain, Abel. Yeah, okay. So we got that little motif, and so the book is he does another one of these character-driven things. So we're focusing on two families. One of them is the Charles, Adam, Caleb, Aaron setup. Those guys are out in Connecticut, and then at some point in the book, one of them heads over to California, where they meet the other family. And I don't even remember the other family's name, even though I like them so much better. Hamilton, the Hamiltons. There it is.
Does
And
the
then
other family have a shorter? Because you just named a bunch of names, and then the other family.
oh no, the other family is actually way bigger. And there's
Okay.
and there's no fun naming conventions that they follow between generations.
Oh, oh, generations.
Yeah, yeah. There's like 3 generations,
Oh my god.
2 generations, 3 generations for Charles and Adam's group. 2 generations. Well, technically three. Of
599 pages in my edition for East of Eden.
yeah,
Wow.
this thing's like 600 or something on the dot. And the other family is loosely based off of Steinbeck's own extended family.
Hmm.
So he's actually like in the book a little bit, like as like a kid.
Like
He's in the
fan
book,
fiction, like self-insert fan fiction. Like
kind of.
he makes a cameo.
Yeah, he makes a cameo in his own book because he's talking about like his grandpa or his great granddad or something. I think it's his
Wow.
grandpa. Yeah, I think it's his grandpa and his aunts and uncles and stuff. So that's kind of cool. And so they move out. Most of the story takes place in California, and it goes absolutely nuts. There's some crazy shit that goes down. But I don't want to spoil it too much. But Pierce, we also had a Chinese man. who spoke in a very racy accent.
Yeah.
But the funny bit was like 2 chapters after we introduced him, the grandpa of the Hamiltons, Sam Hamilton, comes over, and then like he totally just drops the accent. Just like completely just like, yeah, I was only faking it because if I talk like that, they make me work less because they think I'm stupid or something. The other guy was like, dude, that's sick. And then like halfway through the book, he just like stops the accent altogether because nobody cares anymore. Everyone just likes him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Might be my
Which
favorite
I thought
book.
that was kind of funny. And that's not even that big of a spoiler. But yeah, they also have the Chinese people as some like giant like think tank. So they wanted to interpret this book, this verse from like the Old Testament, and they had to um transfer it over from Yiddish. Is that spoken or written? Can you write in Yiddish? I don't know.
Yiddish, I believe you can write in it. I know Yiddish is like Hebrew and German, like kind
It
of.
might
It's
have
like
been
closely
Hebrew.
related to both.
Anyway, so they had to translate the Old Testament from like the original language, whatever it was, Hebrew, Yiddish, I'm not sure. And
It was Hebrew.
okay, Hebrew. So yeah, and so like he sent it to a bunch of like Chinese elders who just all they do all day is learn stuff apparently. So there's like a whole group of them and all they do is smoke opium and like talk and think about things. So they like learned Hebrew just to translate this part of the book for him.
Wow.
I don't know if that's real or not, but that was absolutely nuts.
I guess just real quick to correct me, Yiddish is descended from German, not related to Hebrew, but it's borrowed a huge amount of words from Hebrew because it's kind of closely tied to Jewish communities. Anyways,
Gotcha. And so he's in there. He's great. His name's Lee. Um, what can I go about without spoiling the book? Well, I think at least one of the good things about Steinbeck is that his kind of themes are kind of so on the nose that even my little pea brain can get some of them,
Going to med
right?
school. The pea brain.
I memorize, bro. I don't think abstract thoughts.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so the book kind of to me was a big thing about like free will, um, being like going above being better than what you were raised as, kind of.
Mm.
Because the Charles and Adam, Caleb, Aaron situation, they're all kind of like raised in specific ways that kind of follow the book of Genesis a little bit.
Hmm.
Spoiler alert, not really. And so it takes a while but to like break that cycle and then it's like, "Oh yeah, you can do this that like, you kind of want to because I've been an ass to you, or you can be a good person." And they're like, "Oh, crap." And it takes 600 pages for them to like really for that lesson to really hammer in. And like there's a whole bunch of side stuff. The Hamilton's family is kind of funny because like every once in a while they'll just have like a full chapter that's dedicated to Steinbeck flashbacking, talking about his like grandma or his aunt or something that like you don't see in the book that much. There's a whole chapter dedicated to how the grandma sold a bunch of war bonds, and then she
Hmm.
sold so many war bonds she got to fly in a plane, but she didn't believe planes existed.
Wow.
you
Which is
didn't
kind of funny.
believe planes existed?
Yeah, it said something about God's creation was never meant to be in the air. It's supposed to stay on the ground or something. I don't know. It was pretty good, dude. This book is absolutely nuts. Like you read it like the first third to like a half of the book, you're like, man, this is like a crazy, but this is like, like a classic. So you're like, oh, expecting something different. And then the second half, it just goes absolutely like I can't even say anything because Justin wants to read it. So
Yeah.
I
Well,
also want to read it at some
yeah.
point.
Yeah.
so I won't say any of the crazy stuff, but I'm like looking at the book and I close it for a second. I'm like, what did I just read? What is this? It's
Wow.
pretty cool.
I wish I was like
Um,
that excited about my book. Just like
What else do I want to say about it that I haven't already? Oh yeah, so I read the Wikipedia because I read this book in like December to
Hmm.
get onto it, and this totally pissed me off a little bit. But there's a whole talk in the book that Sam Hamilton, Adam, one of the Charles, Adam, Caleb, Aaron people from that side of the family, and the Chinese dude Lee have a deep conversation about. They're all like, well, since Cain killed Abel, we're all descendants of Cain. So we all got that, bad blood in us or whatever. We all got that inner jealousy in us, and it's up to us to make good or bad men of ourselves. And
Huh.
that's like wrong from the Bible because Adam and Eve, right, had a third son, Seth, who like replaced Abel after Abel died. And Noah is one of Seth's kids. And so all of Cain's descendants died in the flood. So we're made from Seth, not from Cain, which was kind of annoying. I didn't even know I don't know anything about the Bible, but I saw that and then I like Googled it up and like looked at it and I was like, oh, that kind of sucks.
Wow. That I may not know what this book is about, but I really want to read it.
Okay, so I did a good job then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sold you on it.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you're just saying this book's crazy. Not to say that the Grapes of Wrath is bad. It's not
Mhm.
bad. It's just it is very slow because it takes its time to build up every character, but it spends it kind of overdoes that a bit because it will spend like 2 pages talking about how to bleed out a pig, and I'm like, come on, bro, Steinbeck, you gotta hurry up a little bit. I get to build up the world, but like
Mhm.
sometimes it takes it a little bit too far with just how slow he takes things. But
I-
that's just me.
I
I
think
will
he takes it a
say
bit slower in this book too.
I will say though, for those of you who have not noticed, or maybe this is your first episode, Justin has like a completely different opinion on classics from me and Luke. I know me and Luke obviously also don't agree on everything, but
Mhm.
like me and Luke have, I think we come at it from different points of view, but we end up liking similar classics, and then Justin is
I'm
kind of separate from us. Because I
The
would say
Maverick
I'm
of the group.
closer to Luke in the amount that I liked Cannery Row than I am to Justin. Which I know we all liked the Steinbeck book. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I think I'm closer to Luke than Justin based off your guys' descriptions.
I think the only time we've ever united against Pierce was Kafka because we're like, Kafka's all right, and then Pierce was like, Kafka.
Yeah.
You guys just don't get it. You don't get it.
You don't get it, man.
Well,
Oh, one last thing. One last thing.
Mhm.
I've never been a guy who like gets invested into characters like that much. Like
you're more of a plot
I
guy.
like characters, but I'm not like die-hard character fans in movies or TV shows or nothing.
You want it to be
I'm a
good, but it's not your like top thing.
Yeah, I'm a die-hard Sam Hamilton fan.
Oh
Wow.
no, you're
Oh,
doing like a fandom thing. You're gonna pit
yeah.
characters against each other.
Sam Hamilton fan art.
Oh, it's like
Oh
Twilight
no.
all over again, where you're just like, oh, Team Edward, Team Jacob. Are you going down that route? He's taking the sip of water,
Team
giving a
Sam
chance.
Hamilton.
Yeah, maybe. He was just like in a class of his own. That was such a cool character.
No, yeah, none of these characters really. Okay, well now I just got to keep on. Now I'm defending the book. Good for Wrath. They're great characters here. Just like none that are really related. I can empathize with them because they're going through the ringer in a really bad situation. But just like passive characters are not my thing. I don't think people like passive characters in general, but just like they're too passive for me, man. Give them some agency. I think Tom Joad is probably my favorite character, who I barely described, but like he just didn't. I don't know. I want to read more Steinbeck because I love characters. I'm like the anti Luke over here. I just give me a book that's solely based on characters, and I will love it. I don't know, for some reason, Grapes of Wrath just didn't tickle my fancy all the way through, but that's me. So Steinbeck, if you're listening, make a book about characters again.
Yes, Steinbeck, if you're listening personally. Well, does that about wrap it up? Do you guys think?
Me
Yeah.
thinks.
Any
Me thinks.
closing? All right. Basically, all in all, read Steinbeck. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Give him a shot. I know, like, Grapes of Wrath and East of Eden are very long, but like, read a novella, read Cannery Row, read Of Mice
Of
and
Mice
Men.
and Men.
See if you like him, because I would. From the Of Mice and Men and Cannery Row that I've read, his writing style doesn't change drastically. I don't know if that's true for his longer novels. So if you like one of those, you'll probably like the longer novels. And then you can say to people, hey, I've read Grapes of Wrath. Hey, I've read East of Eden. Okay.
Not everyone
I've
can say
read,
that.
not everyone can say that. I've read these very important books. But anyways, yeah, give Steinbeck a try. Very good author. Yeah, join us next month for Hemingway if you're interested in that, which you should be because
Because
I really love Hemingway.
I don't think all of us are about to survive. They
Yeah,
got
if you're wondering the differences I was pointing out with me and Luke and Justin, me and Luke love Hemingway for different reasons, and Justin does not love Hemingway at all.
yeah. So be sure to maybe read Old Man of the Sea because we've all read that and we all have
Yes. Well, I haven't
different.
read it yet. I'm going to read it.
You
I'm
haven't
reading
read
it
that yet?
for. I have not
Okay.
read it yet. I was saving it for. I wanted to do a Hemingway month a long time ago. I was
Yeah.
saving it for Hemingway month. But I've read a bunch of other Hemingway stuff. But yeah, if you want to read Old Man in the Sea, it's pretty short. And then that's one book that I'm sure we'll all have things to say about.
Yeah, we might have only one podcast host by the end of next month.
Yep. So yeah, join us for that. It'll be a fun time. Also follow us on Twitter at Not Just Any Pod. You can find information on this podcast as well as our other one, which is about tabletop gaming. We're playing D&D right now on Not Just Any RPG, which you can find on YouTube, Twitch, and a podcasting platform. The one you're listening on right now, probably.
Yeah, which you should
Now?
also rate us 5 stars if you're on there, because you can
5
do that now on
stars.
Spotify.
Yep, subscribe, follow, whatever it is. Like, that about wraps it up, right?
Yep, it'd make us happy. And goodbye, Prometheus.
Oh, it's
Call-
back. It's back. I never thought I'd say I missed it, but I guess I do.
It's back.
Or I did.